Not one, not two, not three, four Coastal Carolina home runs, including CADEN Bodine's game winner and two Blake Barthol double plays, have Coastal Carolina on Omaha's doorstep. It's Locked On Sunbelt.
You are Locked On Sunbelt, your daily podcast on the Sunbelt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, good morning, Sunbelt Nation. Dave Schultz with you on a special edition of Locked On Sunbelt. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. All right, Cajuns fall, former Cajuns fall in Oklahoma City. We'll get to that. And can JACOB Morrison put Coastal Carolina over the top? But what a ball game last night in Auburn with a 2-hour weather delay and all. Coastal Carolina prevails 7-6. And a couple of things happened in that game. You may think I don't like to tell you I told you so, but I love to tell you I told you so. And I will be doing so from time to time when you least expect it. Thank you, Brockmeyer. So we told you about the catchers. They each threw out at least one would-be base runner. And we also told you that it was going to be a 27-out ball game. We were wrong. It was a 30-out ball game. All right. Auburn is going to be used to not necessarily playing from behind, but having to score runs. And so the 5-1, 6-1 deficit wasn't going to scare them because their team gives up 5 runs a game. So scoring a few runs isn't going to be a big deal. And I'm going to give it up to Fluky because he battled. He did not have his good stuff, could not hit that outside corner to the right-handers, inside corner to the left-handers, either couldn't hit it or couldn't get the call, had no breaking ball to throw for a strike whatsoever, and just battled. Should have gotten out of the first inning without a run, right? Leadoff dribbler and base runner erased. 2 outs, nobody on. Line drive to center. Wells Sykes is not the first guy to have one hit right at him and freeze up. So it goes over his head. Still doesn't change the fact it should have been caught. All right. Should have been not necessarily 3 up and 3 down, but it should have been about a 12-pitch inning. Instead, it turns into a 32-pitch inning, and it's 1-0 Auburn. All right. And the announcer's not wrong, came back and said, well, Fluky's fortunate to get out of there with just giving up the 1 run. True, but also Auburn was fortunate to score the 1 run. All right. Well, Auburn comes right back, and Pato hits the first of his home runs, and it's 1-1. Okay. And then Fluky's just battling. Almost gets out of that inning with a 7-pitch second inning, except more base runners, and throws another 20 pitches or so, and he's up to like 52 or 53, and yet doesn't give up runs. And then Bodine comes up and makes it 2-1, and we kind of go from there. And one of the advantages that we talked about throughout the week was the pitching. And when you talk about the Coastal Carolina pitching to the Auburn pitching, we got the Sam Dutton outing. That's what he does. Last night's outing was exactly how he has pitched as of late. Nothing different in his last 4 outings. South Carolina, May 9th, 5 runs, 8 hits, 4 innings. Ole Miss, 7 runs, 6 hits, 3 innings. Against Stetson, 5 runs, 7 hits, 6 2/3 innings. Now, they scored a bunch of runs for him, so he won. He also won against they won against South Carolina because they scored a bunch of runs for him in that game. And then last night, he gave up 6 runs on 6 hits in 3 2/3 innings. So we got this. That's the way Sam Dutton pitches. So we told you that Coastal Carolina had the advantages. Now, it would have been interesting. I didn't see the post-game show that I don't know if they asked, would Fluky have come out and pitched the 6th? Because he was up to 95 pitches. I presume he was exhausted because of the heat and humidity. I know they pitched in Coastal, but I'm not sure it had gotten that hot as of yet. All right, in South Carolina. Did he have another inning in him to go into the 6th? And would that have moved everybody back? All right. I will say, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I've watched all of Coastal this year. All right. A couple things that we're going to see the difference between Coastal and Auburn. All right. From what I've seen from Coastal over the last month or so, Coastal will bunt in any situation. When it calls for bunting, they're gonna bunt. All right. So when we're looking for a big inning in the middle or early in the ball game, they're gonna bunt. We're looking for 1 or 2 runs, maybe just 1. Whereas the analytics tell you, don't bunt. Let's go for the 2 or 3 big innings. All right. 2 or 3 run big inning. Last night, Auburn had their cleanup guy up. 2 on, nobody out. He ends up striking out. That really didn't cost him because, well, the next guy lined out anyways. So probably would have been a double play to begin with. All right. But Coastal Carolina definitely would have bunted. I think everybody bunts in that lineup. All right. The other thing, as people who watch this know, it really is a pet peeve of mine when the players aren't paying attention to the game. And a lot of times, pitchers are throwing 8 out of 9 out of the strike zone, and guys come in there and swing at the first pitch like they're not paying attention. All right. And last night, I know there was an execution issue. And so you want to say Kevin Schnall was being aggressive. It kind of felt like the smartest man in the room play. Runners on at first and third in that 4-run 4th inning. And they're reeling. And because Carson Myers is good. All right. Carson Myers has come in for Cam Tilley the last few Friday nights and pitched really well. He comes in and Bodine gets an RBI single. And now you got Alexander at the plate. And Auburn is reeling. You got runners on at first and third. And so at worst, he's trying the double steal to get the run home. At worst, you should have runners on at second and third. I think it was Sykes leading third base too soon and gets caught and then gets a knee to the back. All bad. So a little execution problem. The catcher does a good job with the pump fake, and the runner from third base comes home too soon, right? What are we doing? Just let it go. The pitcher's reeling. You ran yourself out of an inning. Didn't score again until the 10th. And it sort of turned. All right. On the other side of things, where it was important for Fluky to put up zeros, he did not. All right. Now, he was economical with his pitches. He went from 75 pitches to 86, double, 2 fly balls, but it made it 6-1 to 6-2. Next inning, solo home run to Ike Irish, went to 6-3. Then we go to the weather delay at the time, and then rains came. And so instead of sitting in a delay at 6-1, it's 6-3. And then Kevin Schnall said it, the difference between being a top 8 seed and not, mistakes, errors, and wild pitches. He said 2. I thought there was 2. Carbone had him. I thought there was 3, but only 2, and a couple of errors as well. And so he credited the crowd, right? I don't think he was complaining, maybe a little, but he credited the Auburn crowd, and probably really quiet after Pato's second home run, right? Bodine, what a job in the 10th inning. And it was interesting because they said on replay, he knew he hit it as soon as he did, but he didn't, because he took like 1 or 2 quick steps and then stopped to look at it, which was odd. Because usually when you hit it, like a Reggie Jackson home run with a left-hander or a Darryl Strawberry or a Ken Griffey Jr., you get it and you drop the bat and you look at it. He got it, took a couple of like 1 or 2 quick steps, and then realized he got it. And then we get to, like baseball, comes full circle, pun intended. The defense was not great throughout the game, and Auburn has that chance in the 9th inning. You can't ask for more than that. 2 on and nobody out after a couple of walks, and you can't blame the batters because they hit 1 on the screws in the 9th and 1 on the screws in the 10th. Barthol makes a spectacular play in the 9th, solid play in the 10th. The difference is 1, he left his feet, and 1, he was still on his feet. Nonetheless, turns not 1, but 2 double plays, 1 to end the 9th and 1 to end the ball game. Again, I would not so much blame the runner in the 9th inning because it was a spectacular play. In the 10th, especially after the 9th inning happens, tough to get doubled up there. But as expected, the game went the distance, and I would presume the same thing is going to happen today and, if necessary, on Sunday. It'll be interesting to see who Auburn pitches on Saturday. We'll talk about that at the end. Obviously, it would appear that the Sun Belt Pitcher of the Year, JACOB Morrison, is going for Coastal Carolina. We will do that at the end. We'll come back and talk about what was obviously a disappointing performance for the former Ragin Cajuns in Oklahoma City after I tell you about FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live. With player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. Those odds are dropping. It was 30-1 for Murray State. Now it was 29-1, and I was told that Coastal Carolina was actually a betting favorite to win game one, more pitching matchup than anything else. But check out those odds on FanDuel. New to FanDuel, it's a perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, Dave Schultz, Lockdown Sunbelt, your teams every day. Good morning, everyone. It isn't, I swear, I'm going to work, so it's not. I'm just holding up a cough for those listening. And please download it on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. It's a big help. I can see the listeners. We're up basically 100 or 50 or 100 downloads a day, so that's a big help. Apple and Spotify. I'm holding up my Jim Beam coffee cup, and it says on one side the Jim Beam logo, and the other side it says this could be bourbon, but it is just coffee. It is just coffee. Okay. Texas does a number on Texas Tech last night, and it was not pretty. 10-0. Najee Candidate took it on the chin. 5-run second inning, which the game was over because Texas Tech really hasn't scored those runs. They haven't scored 5 runs, I think, since the SEC tournament. And then former Cajun Chloe Risotto went out there, kind of the sacrificial lamb, gave up a bunch of runs. But I've been going back and forth with Cajuns fans because they're mocking Texas Tech for buying their way into the national championship, as if the Cajuns wouldn't do the same thing. All right. On one hand, you have Cajuns fans pleading with the athletic department for to step up and get into the NIL game so they can compete with Coastal Carolina and Southern Miss in baseball, but then mocking Texas Tech for spending money so they can go to the championship. All right. I guess I don't know if I'm a nicer person or not. But I think it's cool. And it, I don't know if you can see the analytics, but this is just a year ago in 24. I didn't know how shorts work or anything like that, but I posted a short of Sam Landry. I mean, it had literally 24 views. It's closing in on 4,000. I think it had like 400, maybe 200 views at the start of college softball season. She went to Oklahoma. It's gotten 3,600 since then. All right. That's the difference between being at the Ragin Cajuns and Oklahoma. All right. So she left to go to Oklahoma. She got money. Cajuns fans are upset that Jerry Glasgow took the Texas Tech job and took all his players with him. Now, in terms of how, the timing, the portal had closed, so the players couldn't go in there, except the Cajuns could because their coach left. So that put the Cajuns behind the 8 ball and put the new Cajuns coach in a tough situation because she couldn't get players to come. All right. I understand how Cajuns fans feel. I get it. except I'm going to always root for the people that I cover. They were really nice girls. And again, they delivered the biggest victory, at least in my eyes, that Cajuns fans have had in the last decade. It wasn't the football team. It wasn't the basketball team. It wasn't the baseball team. It was the softball team. They went into Baton Rouge and beat LSU in a regional to go to the Supers. We talked about it. They were this close to hosting, but McNeese blew it to Oregon. Then they got the doors blown off of them in Oregon, but nonetheless, all right, I put that ahead of the Sun Belt Championship in football, and the basketball team just won the Sun Belt Championship, losing to Tennessee in the NCAA tournament. So overall, I guess the biggest one when I was covering them would have been the baseball regional that they won because they hosted the Supers for the first time. And of course, softball won a super regional, sending them to Oklahoma City back in 2014. That was also in Lafayette. I will say the same girls who just left Louisiana to go to Texas Tech, they just lost a regional at home. All right. So for some reason, Cajuns fans think that if these girls were still in Louisiana, they would be in Oklahoma City. They probably wouldn't be because Landry was going to go to Oklahoma and Najee Candidate wasn't coming to the Cajuns. All right. Did Texas Tech buy their way into the championship? Sure did. Did Ohio State buy themselves a national championship? Sure did. Did Texas buy their way into competing for a national championship? Sure did. Did Florida? Sure did. Does anybody care? No. All right. Ragin' Cajuns fans do. All right. Ragin' Review, late last night, late Friday night, still wrote an article. They're still bitter. Lane Johnson, Texas Tech Women's College World Series failure is the price of Jerry Glasgow's softball robbery. As if losing in the national championship game is karma. As if he wouldn't do it again. And people are asking me, is this worth it? Patrick Mahomes is at the game. Patrick Mahomes is tweeting about it. Patrick Mahomes is providing Adidas stuff. I mean, if you don't think that Texas Tech got the ROI on Jerry Glasgow coming, Najee Candidate coming, the softball program got the ROI. All right. And I wouldn't have been surprised if Glasgow, if they won the national championship, rode off into the sunset. Can't do anything better than that. I don't know how much eligibility the girls have. They've been around the Cajuns for a minute, and who can keep track of what the NCAA is doing, although they did have that house agreement come down late on Friday. But I'm just going to always root for the people that I covered. Again, they were all very nice people. I will say with the one exception, I'm not going to sit here and tell Cajuns fans to go root for former Cajuns if they happen to go play for LSU. I may still be able to do that, but I could certainly understand if that's not going to happen. I think people can understand that. I will send out thanks. Someone tried to come after me. I probably shouldn't have responded. That's my OCD. I have to respond. I probably shouldn't. Someone thinks I get clout for talking about Sunbelt. I'm not sure there's a whole lot of Sunbelt fans outside of Sunbelt fans, right? We're not Michigan or Texas or Alabama or, Ohio State or Michigan or USC or anything like that. The only people who care about the Sunbelt are the Sunbelt fans. And no one would have seen his tweet because he's got like 72 followers, except I said something. And people came to my defense, except one person. Oh well, can't win them all. So I appreciate that, including a former Ragin' Cajun athlete and some others who, again, don't always have to agree with me. I get that. Everyone's got opinions. I don't like the whole mocking that, Texas Tech had to buy their championship. Well, so does everybody else. Okay. On one hand, the Cajuns want more money to spend for baseball to compete, and yet they're mocking Texas Tech for buying their championship or attempting to. Anyways, and of course, because Cajuns fans are funny, they checked up on me last night while Texas was blowing out Texas Tech. So we appreciate that. All right. So they're having a little fun at my expense while Texas Tech is getting blown out. I appreciate that. All right, let's talk about Coastal Carolina and Auburn, game 2 of the Super Regional after I thank everybody again. All right, not quite a record week, but almost. Our record week was 11,200 views. This past week was 10,400. That's outstanding. Maybe a record audio download. That was a pretty good. Like 1,500 audio downloads. That's pretty good. Last week, last month we had almost 5,000. So now we're on pace for 6,000. And again, could we imagine if Coastal Carolina can win this thing and maybe do a little damage in the College World Series? Not only would I get 1 week, but I would get 2 weeks. All right. So again, you realize it's all about me, but I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And again, it is a big help if you could download it with the Apple Podcasts and the Spotify. Again, do it while you're listening in the car, while you're working out, yard work, cleaning up around the house. It is a big help. Thank you. Thank you so much. Like and subscribe and all that good stuff. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. I will say, I'm going to pat myself on the back. I'm never this far ahead. All right. I got about another 10 minutes to go. This will be all done by 7:30. I wake up at 5 a.m. or 5:30. And somehow I always complain to my mother, who I always call on my way to work, how I'm late. I either work out for an hour or a half an hour, and somehow I manage to be late, waking up 3 hours in advance. I don't understand. But anyways, so I'm ahead of the game. Let's see if we can manage to keep that. All right. So Coastal Carolina defeats Auburn 7-6. It would appear, obviously, JACOB Morrison going for Coastal Carolina. Once we saw Fluky was pitching on Friday night, once they announced that lineup, which we thought was a possibility only because of the shortness of last week when that's the way it was set up, because they wanted Morrison to pitch on the Saturday of the regional, right? And they basically kept Morrison on that rest. All right. So who are the options for Auburn today? All right. You do have Andre Alvarez. He is 3-1 with a 5.27 ERA, but pitched very well against NC State. He would be on a little bit short rest because he pitched on Sunday. You do have Christian Chatterton. Auburn thinks that he was being held back for the if necessary ball game. He's 4-1 with a 4.47 ERA. You do have Cam Tilley, who was the Friday night starter. He is 3-3 with a 5.48 ERA. So again, Coastal Carolina comes into this game with a huge pitching advantage. All right. Huge pitching advantage. We'll see if they can do it. We're going to look for a little bit more from JACOB Morrison, who I guess has pitched a little bit better than I thought. Did not pitch well in his regional outing. All right. I'm not saying he pitched great, but he did not pitch particularly well against East Carolina. 4 runs in 5 innings is not great by any stretch of the imagination. Against Marshall, he pitched okay. 1 run in 5 hits, 7 innings. That's very good. All right. Didn't pitch great against Old Dominion. Pitched okay. 2 runs in 5 innings. That's all right. They scored some runs after that. And he pitched okay against ULM. They were losing, I think, at the time, and they exploded for some runs. So he actually pitched well against ULM, didn't give up any runs, but was trailing when I think they were losing the ball game. But then they came up to the plate and scored a bunch of runs. He's actually pitched a little bit better, just not great in his last outing. All right. So that was against East Carolina, who, ironically, after what was a pretty good regional outside of losing 1-0, fired their hitting coach, I guess, on Friday. So we'll see if Jacob Morrison, what he can do against Auburn. Would really like to see a little bit more economical, as Daryl Dapprich said, much more of a ground ball pitcher than a strikeout guy. Although, I mean, he's got 89 strikeouts in 90 innings. I don't know what you're looking for, more than a strikeout an inning, or basically a strikeout an inning. And, he's only walked 19. So not quite 5-1, but I guess technically 4.5-1. All right. So he's pretty good, obviously. Sun Belt pitcher of the year, and he hasn't lost all season. Have they lost? Let me see. They have lost one time when he's pitched. That was against Carolina. They lost 5-4. He gave up 3 runs on 6 hits in 5 innings. All right. Obviously, they have a 22-game winning streak also riding that. No one really cares about that right now, because it doesn't matter if they win today or tomorrow. Although, just like a Game 7, you want to finish it off today. Not so much. You're not so much worried about a twisted ankle or anything like that in baseball, as so much as you're worried about a bad hop, a bad call, a fluky play off the bat. We've seen that. Even those guys said it last night, you make a good pitch and you get a little dribbler out to short. That's really the difference between football, or between baseball and the other sports. So rarely do you get a ball tipped up in the air and it's caught, tends to be intercepted or batted down. Right? That's why baseball is much more flukier than anything else, right? You hit it on the nose last night, not once but twice, and it turns out to be a double play. Very easily could have been a game-winning base hit. When you hit it, you think it is. Certainly Auburn fans did, and it didn't turn out to be 1 out. It turned out to be 2 outs, not once but twice. All right, and so, as my father would say, that's baseball. I mean, Coastal Carolina has a shot to finish it off today, and let's see if they can. I'm trying to find out. I guess the game is at let me see here. Is it 2 p.m. Central Time? Let me see. Game 2 schedule. It is 2 p.m. Central Time. Okay, so 3 p.m. Eastern Time. All right. So I will catch the end of that. We are working today. So again, they have a shot. Again, I don't think it's going to be easy. They have an absolute advantage when it comes to the pitching, and see if they can, just keep on grinding it out, because it unraveled fast. Daryl Dapprich was right, though. After the starter, Coastal didn't do anything, right? I mean, they didn't score anything from the 5th until the 10th. So you got to jump on that. We'll see how long they stay with the starter if he gets in trouble. All right. And we'll see who the starter is. I like to see Jacob Morrison, go 7 and give up a couple of runs. If you can get that for Jacob Morrison, that'll be outstanding. All right. Because this lineup just keeps on coming and coming. I'd watch out for, is his name Bud Tilley? Because he struggled yesterday. I would look for a bigger Bob Terrell. So Cam Tilley, Bud Terrell. I would look for a bigger game for him today. He struggled yesterday. Did lead off the 9th with a walk, which was a good job by him after going over 4 with a couple strikeouts. I would look for a bigger ball game from him. And Morrison, the right-hander, going against Irish, the left-hander, who hits about 100 points higher against right-handers. So that'll be a great matchup. Right? So we'll look forward to that. All right. Thanks so much for tuning in. Enjoy the ball game. Coastal Carolina, 1 win away from going to Omaha again, where, I mean, they got as good a shot as any to compete for a national championship. They need 1 more win against Auburn before that can take place. Thanks again for tuning in. You've been watching Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. We'll have another episode, of course, on Sunday to talk about what happens on Saturday. Enjoy the baseball, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.